no helicopters have been procured for me to go to golf course. Thank you.
I've never said he wasn't a great politician. I'm just saying he's a officer.
It's supposed to be an interview.
How'd you play out there today?
Well, I found the conditions challenging, mostly because there's no grass on the golf course, but there never has been.
I'm thinking about the swag bag, and I had high hopes for the swag bag.
When you got 3 crevices on the green, your course is trash.
What is going on, everyone? Beltway Golfer Podcast, episode 53. Host Alex Dixon here, trying to put these podcasts out rapid fire for KPMG Women's PGA Championship Week. This is the third podcast in 3 days, the fourth podcast related to this championship. This is one I've been trying to get for a while, and I was really excited that he was up for joining, and he's really cool. Andrew Green, golf course architect, one of the hottest golf course architects on the planet right now. He joined the podcast from the job site down in Miami, Florida, Indian Creek Country Club, which is a ridiculous property. But Andrew Green renovated Congressional, renovated Eisenhower, renovated Naval Academy, all here locally. We talk about a future project in the podcast that he's been hired to do as well here in the DC area. But, you know, he's been hired and has done some of the highest profile restorations and renovations of, you know, top 100 clubs around the country. And over the last 5 years, his profile has just, you know, started to skyrocket. So really cool to have Andrew Green on the podcast, to have him join, talk about his process in transforming Congressional, talk about his career a little bit, talk about Eisenhower, talk about Naval Academy. And I think he's coming up for the tournament in a couple of days. So super cool. If you consume the Beltway Golfer Podcast on video, he was literally sitting in his stand. I think he was holding the cell phone up to get some video, and there were some bandwidth issues. So I just told him to turn off the video after a few minutes. And I might get a video up here on YouTube, you know, running some video of the 3 courses over the audio, but wasn't too worried about it. But, you know, if you haven't been out to Congressional yet, this is a great week to do so. I'm pumped. I think this is the last podcast I will do this week. The next few days, I'm going to be focused on watching the event and taking some pictures and video, and I'll just kind of play it by ear. But I'm super pumped. I'm going to go out there, I think, every day and just watch how these ladies do on the new blue. And so it's super exciting. But let's get to the podcast. And real quick, 2 sponsors to talk about of the Beltway Golfer Podcast. First is Fore Craft Cocktails, Fore Craft Cocktails. Follow them on social media. Go to forecraftcocktails.com. They've got a location finder right there on the website. It is a transfusion in a can, premium vodka, lime juice, ginger ale, and grape juice. My beer fridge is stocked full of them right now. Love the drink. And they're coming out with 2 new flavors, Bloody Mary and Fore Tea. Haven't tried them yet, but I'm excited to try them. They're going to be at 7% ABV. They should be hitting stores, Total Wine and Beverage all throughout Northern Virginia, as well as green grass facilities. Again, go check them out at forecraftcocktails.com to see the location finder and where you can pick them up. It's a great drink. And by supporting Fore Craft Cocktails, you are supporting this podcast. Also, Golden Horseshoe Golf Club down in Colonial Williamsburg, 45 holes of houseless, walkable golf. The Gold Course, which is top 50 public course that you can play in the United States by Golf Digest, was renovated in 2017. Incredible set of par 3s, beautiful course. They've got the green course, which is also a stout test. Played it a couple times. Really enjoy the green course. And then they've got the Spotswood 9, which is a great warm up or wind down while you're down there. They've got stay and play options, 5 different types of lodging depending on your budget and your crew or your group. Walkable to Colonial Williamsburg, Busch Gardens right up the street, right down I-95, head east on I-64. Go check it out if you haven't been in a while. Golden Horseshoe Golf Club. You can find them right on the Colonial Williamsburg website or follow them at Golden Horseshoe Golf Club. That's it. Let's get to the conversation with Andrew Green, golf course architect, who is responsible for the transformation of Congressional's Blue Course. Enjoy. All right, Mr. Andrew Green, how are you? Thanks for joining the Beltway Golfer Podcast.
Doing well, Alex. No, thanks. Thanks for having me.
We were just chatting before we started recording here. Once I'm going to double check that I am recording. I've made that mistake before in the past. I'm actually on site here at Congressional, up near the tennis clubhouse. Unfortunately, I didn't get the cool background, but I'm overlooking number one and the driving range on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. It's the longest day of the year, June 21st. And you
Absolutely.
are. Why don't you tell the listeners where you are?
Yeah, I'm sitting at the third tee at Indian Creek in Miami, Florida. And I would turn the camera around and show everybody what it looks like, but it's a little disheveled at the moment. But we're making progress.
Very cool, and so thanks for taking some time while you're in the middle of the job. We're gonna focus mostly, obviously, on Congressional and a couple of the other courses here in the Mid Atlantic and DC area that you worked on, Eisenhower and Naval Academy. But Indian Creek is an interesting one. I mean, Indian Creek, kind of an ultra exclusive. Just the island of Indian Creek there's just a lot of backstory, and some of the folks that live on that island. For folks listening, Google the last two couples that bought houses on Indian Creek. They're two of the most famous couples on the planet.
CB12's house is right there behind me.
All right, but from what I understand, part of the project at Indian Creek is literally raising a good portion of the golf course. Do I understand that right?
Yeah, so the membership decided that it was the responsible thing for them to do to upgrade the drainage system for the entire course. Most of the drainage system that was in place was actually the original drainage system from 1929, 1930, when the golf course and the island was actually manufactured from dredgings from Biscayne Bay. And as part of that, we wanted to make sure that we were holding the water, treating it before it discharged into Biscayne Bay. So we had to dig two ponds, and we put those in places that really didn't impact the quality of golf. They were more ancillary and kind of aesthetic, off to the edge. Not, I wasn't going to take a classic William Flynn course with no water and stick a pond right in front of the green. No way. But as part of that, we generated a lot of dirt to dig the ponds to make the drainage work. So then we elevated a few fairways that were low and susceptible to rising tides.
And so we're going to bring it back to Congressional. But so by doing that, by getting all that dirt out of these ponds to create that drainage, are you able to restore some land and movement that maybe was there before that was lost over time?
Yeah, it's been a weird exercise of trying to make sure we're protecting as much of the historic contour as possible. William Flynn designed this course completely from scratch, so every contour out on the property was in some way inspired or developed or conceptualized by Flynn. So I've been really hesitant to make too many adjustments. But the reality is we needed to get positive surface drainage. The golf course was lacking severely in moving water. So it was kind of a combination. I don't know if we really restored too many landforms that were lost to time. It's probably more making it work, making it functional.
Interesting, because before we get to Congressional, I mean, the challenges that Indian Creek has, being essentially an island in the middle of a body of water, and water rising, and how do you keep that water off the golf course? Sounds like a similar story happening in a municipal golf course here in Washington D.C. that's got a lot of press, East Potomac Park, which is essentially the same issue.
Similar, yes, very much so. And it's always this interesting engineering challenge with any project of making sure that we aren't pushing water beyond our property, right? That raising our piece creates a problem downstream. It's always a challenge with any course that sits in a floodplain or in some sort of low area. So you're always balancing cuts and fills to make it work.
So Congressional Country Club. So I'm out here. The KPMG Women's PGA Championship is getting started in 2 days. We're recording this on a Tuesday. It starts on Thursday. You completed the transformation. I've done a couple podcasts with Jason Epstein and Pete Went. I know transformation is the official terminology. You completed that project when?
So we completed in, I guess, the spring of 2021 and opened for play summer of 2021. Most of the work was done in fall of 20, I guess, and then we had a little punch work that led into the spring. And then opened for play last summer. And so this is the start of its second full season, which the golf course is really maturing nicely, and it'll continue to mature and improve over time. But Pete Went and his team have just done an amazing job of polishing the golf course, and it's a lot of work starting from scratch again.
This was I imagine kind of a unique. I mean, every project I would have to imagine is extremely unique, and no two are similar. But just the situation here that Congressional Country Club had already signed this kind of long-term deal with PGA of America to host these championships. This being the first one, which is super exciting. But you're building the course for the membership. How is that a balance right out of the gate? Because you got hired and that deal was already in place, and try to the membership wants versus the needs of a championship.
Sure. So fortunately, I've had some experience working on a number of major championship sites before the congressional opportunity came about. So I'd already worked through a number of different kind of mindsets of how to tackle this idea of challenging the best player and making it fun for the membership. But Congressional was a bit unique in that they have two courses, right? And the Gold Course definitely seems a little more, I don't know if member friendly is the right word, but more of the maybe everyday experience. And we were really trying to make the Blue as special as it could be and really rise to the level of what Congressional means to me and to the members and to the golf world. And I think from an architectural perspective, I really studied all the old guys. I didn't work for a modern architect at all. None, not even an internship. So really everything that I've learned that have gotten me to this point has been from reading the old guys and studying their drawings and studying their courses. And it struck me that almost every golden age architect made some sort of comment that the ideal course balances the challenge for the best players and the enjoyment for the everyday player. Ross said that beautifully. George Thomas, Harry Colt. I mean, a lot of people talked about that. So that was something that we talked about at Congressional, thinking about the Blue Course. How can we make it exciting and challenging for a major championship and a lot of fun for the members? And what you see, you being out there, and what people hopefully will see on TV, is that we kind of took the mindset that we're going to provide a lot of width off the tee. We're not going to make it where it just beats you over the head to even find your golf ball to play your next shot. But we're going to ask you to pick the right side of the fairway to play to and from. And there's places where you can be in the fairway and not be very happy that you're in that position. And so that started to balance this idea of, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity to be successful, use your game to be successful. But then we're going to set up challenges around the green complexes and with hazards in different locations, and then topography to make you think about where you're playing to, where you're playing from, and how to, I guess, be beyond successful. To really challenge the course, you have to hit a lot of quality golf shots. And then the last thing we talked about was just a tremendous amount of variety. And so that you're going to explore your entire game playing the Blue Course. And that's one of the things I'm super excited about with the ladies, is to see how they take their game and figure out how to get around in the best way possible. And, the ladies are so smart. In my opinion, their course management is better than a lot of the guys. And so I can't wait to see how they attack it.
There's a couple things you said there, but one, let's just back up a bit. So, because you mentioned why Congressional is important to you. So let's rewind a little bit. I've listened, I've read some interviews, I've listened to podcasts, but the folks that don't know, give us your history, growing up and getting into the industry, and why Congressional is important to you.
Yeah, so I grew up outside of Roanoke, Virginia, and Congressional was by far the major championship venue of my childhood. And as I grew to love the game, the Kemper Open, and obviously the major championships, and Ken Venturi was my golfing grandfather, right, on CBS, right? They would always talk about his historic win at Congressional, and so it just held such a high esteem. And my brother ended up becoming a second assistant on the ground staff in time for the 95 Senior Open, and I was invited to come up and rake bunkers. I'd been doing golf course maintenance for a few years, and so came up and raked bunkers for the Senior Open in 95, and then came back in 97 and actually walk mowed fairways. If you remember, that was kind of a big to-do with the 97 Open, is that the fairways were walk mowed with walk behind mowers. So I actually did that every day the week of that 97 Open, and was fortunate enough to be in the left-hand rough when Tom Lehman hit his ball in the water on 17 there, and then obviously with Ernie winning. And so can you refresh me? Like I that rings a bell to me, but I'm sure myself and some listeners. What was the to-do about walk mowing fairways? Just that Congressional was going that distance of precision, or why was that a to-do? Sure. Yeah, I think it was, this ultimate, I think to people that didn't understand, it was an ultimate testament to precision and high quality turf. To those that understood, one of the reasons why it was so important, or why it was practiced, was number one, there was the horsepower, the manpower to accomplish it. The other was that the rough was very thick but tender, and the riding mowers were causing issues with the rough being pressed down. And so the walking mowers added an element of, it made the rough better too. So it was this big combination. I'm not sure we'll ever see it again, but it was kind of a badge of honor to be a part of, but maybe one of the sillier things I've done in my career.
That's fun. As you're talking about that, if there's any background noise, I'm seeing that the Congressional team walk leaf below the driving range.
Excellent. Yeah, so I'll be there Thursday evening. One of the big things I want to accomplish this week is go meet the volunteers and the ground staff, and just make sure they understand how much I appreciate them and how important it is as a volunteer, the relationships you build, and by sacrificing to be a part and get up early and do all the things to be a part of a major championship, you build relationships that last a lifetime.
So, that's awesome. You're going to be up here on Thursday. So let me ask you this. So this is the first championship of 8 that are going to be here at Congressional on the new blue that you've redesigned. I'm just kind of curious, like for this first championship, like what are you excited about, or like what are you keeping an eye out for? What are you looking to see out here that's going to either make you smile or make you go,
Yeah, I hope that we see significant swings on each golf hole where there are good scores made and there's also some trouble found. I think the golf course sets up for that if you are in good positions, you can score. But if you get out of position, you can be challenged. And I can't wait to see the kinds of shots that the ladies play in and around the greens, all the way through the golf course, but in and around the greens especially. And then watch their decision making. I tried to provide multiple options on every golf hole of ways to tackle it and be successful. So those are the things I'm really looking forward to. And then I'm not sure yet exactly how long the golf course will be set up by the PGA of America. And Kerry Haig does an amazing job setting up a golf course for a championship. So can't wait to see what he does and the variety that we see out there.
Are there I actually just got to play the renovated course for the first time during media day, and I've walked around a few times, got a tour of it. The course is fantastic. It's such a massive change from what it was before. Certainly visually, just the sight lines and everything, but also just the way the land moves from hole to hole is really pretty amazing. There's a few holes I want to talk about, kind of specifically. One, 10 is probably the most obvious change. It's that par three right next to the clubhouse, and it's a significant change from going over the water to being a peninsula green now. But 11, so both 11 moving the green to the other side of the stream or creek, and then the fairway that's essentially connected, almost like, I don't know how you refer to it, but connected to 12, almost like in a big horseshoe. What was this is almost a question to you about your process, because I'll have a similar question about coming up with number 10, but what is your process to come up with that, to even make the decision to move 11 green and then to decide, hey, this is a perfect spot to have this massive connected fairway?
Yeah, I think there were a number of reasons. Part of it was trying to make sure that 12 was the best golf hole it could be and have a really nice dog leg and kind of a hog's back fairway that worked with kind of the natural condition. And at least what I anticipated was the natural grade before a lot of bulldozers got on it over the decades. And to get that hole to turn right to left, it was really nice to be able to get 11 green out of kind of the line of fire. So shifting the green over to the right side provided more opportunity on 12. If you remember from the previous version of the golf course, that green and the 12th tee shot, especially the back tee, they were pretty close together. And I just love the opportunity that it gives you to play as boldly as you'd like to play, left or right. And depending on where the hole location is, day to day and the wind direction and a number of different things, you might choose one or the other. It'll be interesting to see how many ladies play one way or the other, or if they feel like there's only one way to play that golf hole. But one of the things we focused on there was to try to get the ball below the player's feet as a right-handed player off the tee, bring the creek into play, but leave you room. If you play up more away from the water and the hazard, the ball's more below your feet. So then you're faced with that challenge. And then again, depending on where the hole location is, you might choose to go up the left side or right side on your next shot. And then that green is sneaky with its slope. There's a lot of tilt in that green, maybe as much as any of them out there. So it also plays into that idea of right or left. And then the final thing I'd say on 11 is we realized that for the PGA Championship with the men that it'll play as a par 4 more than likely. So I had to leave an element of making it a good 4 and also a thoughtful 5.
How much of your process and coming up with the different features, and in some cases like totally transformed holes, the process for Congressional is also unique because, and I talked about this or brought up briefly in the Jason Epstein podcast, but there was a change in architects after kind of the process had begun. So it became kind of a quick but also very competitive process when they selected you to go forward and really do the transformation, I guess, in 2018 or so. But my question for you is, when you present to the board here at Congressional, how much of that is part of the presentation? Did you say this is what I'm going to do to 10, this is what 11, 12 is going to look like, this is what 15 is going to look like? Or is it more just a broader vision that leaves out some specifics and you learn that as you really get into the dirt?
Well, in the interview process, I focused on big ideas for each golf hole and provided some concepts. The 10th hole, the new par 3, I saw that green sitting on that peninsula the minute I walked off the 9th green in my kind of walk through the golf course as part of the interview process. It was sitting there. It seemed to make a tremendous amount of sense. It gave us an opportunity to play downhill It gave us a great short par three that I really felt was important to a great golf experience. And then there's, I showed a picture of Sam Snead hitting a shot from Shell's Wonderful World of Golf on the 11th hole with the ball way below his feet. And I just said, I really think we need to go back to more of this and get the ball moving and get the golfer, I don't know if uncomfortable is the right word, but at least make them think about their stance and swing and lie and where they wanted to play.
One of the things that I found fascinating, just, listening to you and a couple other interviews and just kind of your history is for a long time, I understand it's not the case anymore, but you're essentially a one-man band. You're by yourself as as the architect in business for yourself, and despite that, really grew your name in the golf course architecture business and landed some of the most prestigious jobs in the country. Was being essentially solo, was that a benefit in some of these situations, or did that play a factor?
Solo, or just being on my own, you mean?
You're right.
Yeah.
Like, does that give you the agility or flexibility to do things that a larger team maybe wouldn't be able to do or offer?
I'm not sure. I don't know if. I certainly would project that I wanted it, and I obviously still do. I've got a team of two other guys, and my wife helps me a great deal. So we've got a great team, but I still want to be personally engaged and drawing every project that I'm involved in. And, I do my own CAD work. I draw and sketch, things personally because it just means so much to me. It's to have the dream of being a golf course architect as a young guy, junior in high school. This is what I wanted to do. I just embrace it so much, and I have so much fun doing it. I guess I don't want to give up any of the fun stuff, But as far as growing my name, I just think I showed my clients how much I cared and how much I was going to work to make sure that the product turned out as great as it could be, and that no one was going to outwork me. I work all the time. My family certainly sacrifices a lot in the volume of work that I take on and accomplish. But it is critical for me to be, personally involved, like there at Congressional, on property and running the bulldozer at times, shaping in some of the green complexes and making sure that we're getting all the details right. And so that's a huge focus. And I don't know. I guess you'd have to ask the clients how much that really mattered in selecting me on different things. But even in the interview process, I would say that I tried to show my passion and work ethic.
Is it another just general question? I just think of my own self and sometimes have a challenge committing to a decision or something that I've decided is the right move, and maybe I second guess myself. In golf course architecture, especially in design, again, we'll stay with Congressional. Congressional it's got all of this history. It's got a membership of over 3,000 members. It's got all of these tournaments that are already in championships in PGA America that are in place for the next 15 years, including a Ryder Cup. When you're drawing out, where how the bunker and green are going to flow and exactly sit on number one, like, how do you commit to it? It's just, second guessing because there's so many different ways you could go.
I would say that my training and the time I spent with McDonald and Sons and working for Chip McDonald as a design build architect gave me a lot of experience in making decisions. I never really was in a position where I felt like I was waiting on someone's approval. It was really just working to find the best solution for each client. and then making it happen. And I'd say that's probably one of the greatest benefits of the way I came to where I am, is not second guessing myself. Now, I would certainly be lying if I didn't say that I hadn't woken up in a cold sweat at night, worried about a curve line or something that I just committed to. But I think there's a level of commitment and I guess confidence of doing this for going on, I guess, 22 years now, that even though as a young guy, I don't stress over the decisions I make. I think about them a great deal. I spend a lot of time trying to find the right answer to my best of my ability in the planning process. And, you know, maybe I'll draw a golf hole 3 or 4 times in the planning process before I even show it to someone. And, you know, that I try to be as happy as I can be with each step, each design decision. And then as I work through it with the committee or the team, you know, whatever group that I'm working with, I always feel like every iteration, every question that's asked makes the plan better. And then in the field, in the dirt, I really try to build what I planned as much as possible. So what I draw is not a bubble diagram. It's not a concept. I try to make it as real as possible so that when I get out in the field, it's smaller tweaks, smaller adjustments to get it the way I want it to be. And then, not to sound egotistical or full of myself, but I feel like I can see the final product a lot of times when I'm looking at a course or a piece of property. And like I said, I've sketched out number 10 when I walked off the back of 9 Green at Congressional, and I don't know whether it's I don't know. I can't explain it. But yeah, and so I don't. It's a great question, but I don't stress over that stuff. Like,
well, I'm sure it's a trait that's required, but I'm also sure it's something that comes from a tremendous amount of experience. And you touched on it twice already, and that's your time at McDonald and Sons, who's also relatively local. I think they're up near BWI, Jessup, Maryland. But they're essentially a golf course builder, right? So sometimes they do design work, renovation work, but also sometimes they're contracted by golf course architects that have already been hired. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yes. Yeah. So, I started there in 2000, the summer of 2000, was hired in the fall of 2000 for a full-time position, finished up at Virginia Tech in 2001, and, was with him until 2014, and had a great run with him. Just a tremendous company. Chip McDonald started the company. He was a long time, I guess, superintendent and builder of things, golf courses. Really helped get Columbia, Maryland, on the map as far as it being, you know, a planned community. And then he had a tremendous knowledge of turf, tremendous knowledge of construction. And he really would challenge me to make sure that I understood the value of what I put on a piece of paper, and that each line represents something that's real. And, you know, I would tell anybody aspiring to do this that to go play in the dirt is probably the best and maybe the only way to really understand what it means to put a golf course on the ground. And I think, you know, there's guys like William Flynn and Dick Wilson and others that have written about that. The ability of getting out in the dirt is so important.
Is that still unique for people getting into the golf course architecture business? I mean, typically you hear about folks that worked for another prominent name, another architect, but the fact that you came up working for a builder, is that for your peers in the industry, is that pretty unique?
Yes, I'm not sure how many. I mean, there's certainly a lot of guys that have worked for construction companies along their way, but I'm not sure how many have ever, you know, created their own firm from just figuring it out, you know, learning from everything that you're doing. To create their own business. I'm not sure. I'd have to do more research, you know, from that standpoint. But certainly, I think it does give me some unique perspective. There are a lot of guys that are shapers or, assistants to modern firms that have hung out their own shingle and are doing really well and very creative guys. But I'm not sure if anybody's really come from the street builder side.
There's two other projects that you did in this region that I'd love to talk about for a couple minutes each. Okay. And I might get the timeline off. Which did you start working on first? Eisenhower or the Naval Academy golf course?
Yeah, so the construction of those two projects overlapped.
I did, okay.
They were somewhat simultaneous. The design of the Naval Academy was in the works for over 10 years. I've been working with the Athletic Association, who really manages the golf course, and the Naval Academy Golf Association, NAGA, as they're called, really worked with them for over 10 years trying to build momentum and energy and really get the project off the ground and get the planning done. And that project was completely privately funded. It's not a government entity. They lease the property from the government, the U.S. Navy. So it's a self-sustaining business with a great private membership, a lot of wonderful people. And then we really built a lot of nationwide support for the Naval Academy course. It was the last course William Flynn designed. He actually designed and built it at the onset of World War II, which is pretty interesting. And really cool thing. And then Eisenhower was a little later in the design process, but same construction window.
But so Naval Academy, and correct me if I'm wrong, that was a true restoration of William Flynn's original design and concept. Do I have that right?
Yeah, the only real adjustments we made were on the back nine. Two of the original holes that Flynn had put in were lost to time. The space, the land was taken away for additional Navy assets, and they retrofit the golf course. I guess it was in the maybe late 70s, early 80s. And so in that space, we reconfigured the golf holes to create, more of a Flynn inspired feeling. So current number 12, 13, and 14 are kind of, my take on what Flynn intended on the lost holes plus what the ground gave us.
And I've played Naval Academy, but I don't know the routing like the back of my head. 12, 13, 14 are the ones kind of on the outer stretches of the property, right? There's a par 4 and a big
Correct.
par 5 coming back, right? Okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that we made 12 a long par 3, and then 13 became a par 5, and we took 14 from a par 5 to a par 4. And what it really did in that stretch is it created a lot of variety and different kinds of golf shots that we asked the player to execute coming home. And previously 12 had been kind of a modest 4, 13 was a modest 4, and 4 was a real short 5. So, you're hitting a lot of similar clubs on those holes. So by switching it up, we really differentiated the way the course played.
Well, it seems the Naval Academy, it's maybe because it doesn't host, big national championships and it is private, but so it doesn't get maybe as much press. But the folks that I know and follow that have played it unilaterally or universally rave reviews on the job you did there. And I was lucky enough to play it one time since it's reopened and absolutely loved it. And then Eisenhower is what's interesting is these three jobs, especially here, and you've done some really big name country clubs, top 100 country clubs around the country. But the three here, Congressional, Eisenhower, Naval Academy, seem to me to be three very, very different projects. Because Eisenhower, now you're working with a municipality. What was when you either got the job or when they came to you, or what was gosh, I might be getting this. Is it It's Anne Arundel County, right? That manages
yeah,
Eisenhower?
That's right. Yeah.
What was their goal? What were they trying to achieve?
Well, Eisenhower had been this great, kind of fostering place for the game in Anne Arundel County for decades. And the golf course was just super tired. I mean, super tired. It just needed everything. The infrastructure was ancient. The drainage was bad. The environmental areas that really could be an asset were not that. So we really worked together to find a way to make the golf course, not really modernized, but to replace the infrastructure and then make sure that we updated the golf experience, and then at the same time made huge improvements to the environmental areas that are adjacent to the property. So it was a beautiful project with not only rec and parks there, but with the environmental agencies in the county.
So was it your, so the work you did there is probably most known for the I don't know what the right terminology as far as removing and replacing all the bunkers with hummocks. So there's no bunkers left on the course, and so that kind of concept probably got the most press. And the hummocks, I was not familiar with the term before I went out and played Eisenhower or read about your work there. How did that decision come about? Was that something that you approached them with to solve, an issue, whether it be drainage or just resources and costs that go into maintaining bunkers, or how did that come about?
Yeah, so I had some conversations with Damian Cosby, who at the time was managing all the golf properties for Anne Arundel County. And he and I talked about, I basically said, hey, Damian, I got a really crazy idea. What do you think about eliminating the bunkers and going with landforms and grassing areas and things that still make it engaging and fun and interesting, but eliminate the sand? And we started to look at, okay, what are the costs of constructing bunkers and what are the long-term carrying costs, not only on maintaining them, but replacing the sand every, 10 years or so, and then reconstructing them. And all of a sudden it started to make a lot of dollars and cents sense. And then also, allowed us to think about a way to rebrand the course and make it fun and enjoyable and increase the pace of play. And so, a ton of different things that it opened the door to. I had a real hesitant thought of, would the golfing public embrace it? And I was concerned that because it was so beloved by so many people, would they be willing to open their mind to a golf course without bunkers? The idea that would a player think, it's not a golf course without bunkers kind of thing. And the greatest thing that's happened to me with Eisenhower, and I can't recall the few folks that emailed me, but I had a number of emails the first week it was open from people that said, I grew up playing golf with my dad and my grandfather, my mom, my grandmother, my family. And I just cannot be more thrilled with the way Eisenhower turned out. And for me, that was a huge win because I was quite nervous to take such a bold step. But I think people are enjoying it. I'd say some of the hummocks, maybe some of the grass has gotten a little out of control. We got to work on the height of some of the mowing of some of the hummocks, but I'm really happy with the way the golf course is played.
Is that something that you have input in, or when you kind of left and closed the job, was this is the ideal length that these should be mowed? Any longer, and there's gonna be a lot of lost balls and that sort of thing?
Well, I think there was a shot that was on local television news of me in one of the hummocks trying to get my ball out, and I think there was a lot of fun poked at me for being in some tall grass in one of my mounds. So I guess I'm, took my own medicine. But no, I mean, we've had some conversations about it, but it's really up to the maintenance team there how they best see maintaining the golf course. But I do think, we talked a lot about trying to keep the tall grass from being along the base of the slopes of some of those mounds, and there's a balance, right? But I think for the most part, golfers understand that they shouldn't be hitting them in those areas to begin with.
So at the top of this, we talked about you're in Florida right now, working on Indian Creek. Do you work on how many jobs typically are you working on at any given time?
Yeah, I think ideally we'd like to be in like 2 to 3 significant projects at a time. No more than that. Right now we have, I guess, about 4 or so. We have a couple smaller things and then a few larger jobs. Part of it was because the supply chain issue has pushed some of the schedules around. It's been quite a challenge in the golfing world to get materials and things. So, but yeah, it's somewhere in that 2 to 3, maybe 4. It becomes, quite busy being on the road and traveling. I try to get to every job once a week, at least, when things are really moving.
I'll edit this out if this is not public news yet or not. I generally don't know, but I've heard some rumors that you may be brought into another local project here at Chevy Chase Club. Is that shareable? Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, I think so. Yeah, I've been hired by the club to look at the golf course. Not sure yet where we're going to land on what we're going to do, but it's an amazing club, great tradition, wonderful people. Just the membership and the folks I've been working with are just outstanding, along with all of the senior staff. Just a lot of fun, and I love everything about the club. They love to play golf, they love to walk, and that's a beautiful combination for me.
And that's another golf course that's been touched by a lot of very famous golf course architects throughout the years. Do you know yet? Would that be a restoration, a renovation, or is it still way too early to know?
Yeah, I'm not sure we've totally settled on a direction that I'm able to share, but I do think we certainly have talked a lot about that. Allison, Ross, and Travis were all part of their foundation, and there's some spectacular articles in the local newspapers about especially Ross and Travis visiting at the same time, and then the amazing work that Allison did there as well. So I think certainly there'll be a hearkening to that.
Is Maryland still your home base?
It is, yeah. My wife and 3 kids, we live just south of the PA line, halfway between Baltimore and Philly. But okay. It's been a great place for us to raise our family and call home.
A common refrain with folks that I talk to in the golf industry, and I'm learning this as I do in more and more podcasts, is you don't play much golf when you're in the golf industry. Do you still get to play much golf?
Yeah. So I remember one of my professors said, "Don't make your hobby your career." But I don't get to play much. My middle son has kind of fallen in love with the game, so he gives me a good excuse to get out on the weekends and play a few holes with him, which is a lot of fun. But I'm working a lot, and I end up doing other things when I have any free time, just to kind of create balance, not only with my family, but also just making sure that I stay as engaged as possible and as energized and inspired. But I am looking forward to, I'm going to take a trip over to the west coast of England later this summer and get some research in and recharge and play some golf and get to see some really cool properties.
Someone like yourself, as an accomplished golf course architect who's worked on some of the most famous clubs in the country, like let's say you're going to play your local muni with your son, can you turn that off, or are you just the entire time you're looking at green complexes and what could be?
Yeah, I'd say I play my best golf by far when I'm unplugged.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, playing with my son, I can, I'm usually probably a few strokes over par here or there, and then I'll play for work, and it's like I can't even get the ball off the tee. Yeah. So it's interesting. But look, golf is such an amazing game. It's the shots that I play as a kid and as a young person that I remember hitting. I'll find myself standing over a golf ball, 25, 30 years later, trying to replicate, some shot I played years and years ago. And it's just such a cool game. And there's so many different ways to play it. So I love playing it. I just don't get as much time as I might like.
Well, listen, I'll let you go here. This has been fantastic. I appreciate you taking the time to join the podcast and talk a bit about Congressional and your other projects here in the Mid-Atlantic and the DC area. If I see you up here on at Congressional over the weekend, I'll say hello. But good luck. The course looks fantastic. And myself and the rest of the golf community here in DC is excited to watch these ladies play it this weekend.
Awesome. So thank you so much for having me, and let me know if I can ever do anything to help you.
I appreciate it. Best of luck. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
I don't have a good golf game, but I don't really care. I'm a regular dude living in DC, and I want to know about DC-centric golf stuff. If you can tell me something that I don't already know, then that is great for me. I don't want the regular stuff. I want exciting stuff. I want different stuff. I want stuff I can't hear elsewhere. But I want it to be about DC golf.